Carlson. Welcome back. We appreciate DAS having that presence. And as I introduce Lon Anderson as part of the finance team, I would like to make a special highlight of the fact that the ranking member of the House, and in fact their entire Congress, sent me an email earlier this week to point out that this was their top priority, and we were looking at what items to bring into our next meeting. There were other possibilities on the agenda for where we would see. So all three of you being from DAS, we welcome you to the table. We thank you for your honest, helpful feedback, if there's any questions. And are there opening remarks as we invited last time? Any of the three?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Lon Anderson.
Senator Peterson, Representative Kester, members of the committee, we really appreciate Representative Gaines and their request to have us come before the committee and explain what this reorg really was about, which was effective construction management and savings for the taxpayers. To that end, at the Monday meeting, Senator Peterson had asked the question, and it's a good one: if you are saving $736,000, but you're spending $7.4 million on construction managers, how are you saving money? You all should have a memo in front of you. It's one page, front and back. It's being distributed. Senator Peterson doesn't have one, so.
Is it this one?
Yes, sir. I'm going to briefly explain this document. Construction management is a very complex issue, and to drill down to these numbers is not easy.
As long as you don't have that.
I'm sorry. There are plenty of copies for everyone in the room.
If you're a legislator, you don't have to raise your hands. Anybody else, legislator or staff, who doesn't have one?
Is it correct that every legislator has a copy, whether they're members or not? And we appreciate the pages two and the other distribution, but Mr. Anderson, I'll invite you to turn your remarks.
Thank you. There's three parts to this memo. The first part, and I will go through each of these individually, is operational savings. The second part is change order savings. And the third part is the general contractor markup cost avoidance. The first calculation of savings is the annual operating savings. We've discussed this number at length. The governor has talked about it. Director Carroll talked about it. It's $736,000. It's simply the difference in the construction management budget from FY12 to FY13. That's a simple subtraction calculation. The next segment of it is change order savings for completed projects. And the reason we can only do completed projects is because the ongoing projects may have change orders, and that would change the numbers. But for the projects that have been completed, we know for a fact we have a difference of 2.84% on change orders, which seems like a small number. But when you take it times $91 million worth of construction projects, it works out to just under $2.6 million worth of savings. On the back page, we get into the more complex issue, and this addresses Senator Peterson's concern of how can you spend $7.5 million on construction managers and still save money. Paragraph 3 lays this out. In FY13, we had $98 million in change in payments to construction contractors. In 14, we had $48.8 million. That comes out to a little over $147 million. The breakdown of that total is in the following paragraph, which says design professional, construction manager fees, trade contract costs, prime contract on the Mitchellville and the Fort Madison prison, and then printing and other administrative costs. What you see is, because the state has taken on the construction manager by agent process, we have eliminated the general contractor in most cases. General contractor, this is not to disparage general contractors because they're in this business to make a profit, but their general markup as an industry means is 15%. So what that means is we are no longer paying that 15% markup to those general contractors. So when you see that number of 94.1 million and you subtract out the actual costs of using the construction management by agent process, you get a savings of 14.1 million. Subtracting out the 7.5 million for construction manager fees, you still have a savings of $6.6 million. All total, it comes up to just shy of $10 million for 2 fiscal years. Now, over a 10-year period, we can imagine that the savings will be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. That explains this sheet. I would ask protocol on this. Would you like to take questions on this sheet now, or should I go to Energy Bank?
Finish your opening remarks.
Okay. Senator McCoy had asked a question about the Energy Bank, and I want to make everybody clear that is also a very complex issue, but I'll try to make it as simple as I can. When the Office of Energy Independence was dissolved, the Economic Development Authority was given control of those assets. $12.5 million of federal stimulus money was due to revert. EDA called DAS and said, we have $12.5 million of energy efficiency money that we have to spend, or we have to return to the federal government. Director Carroll and Mr. Woodley set up the Energy Bank program, which at the time was run by Monica Stone. They issued low-interest loans for energy efficiency projects, and they were repaid with the savings from those projects. It was a very popular program, and in fact, if you talk to your colleague, Representative Eisenhardt, who's a very big fan of it, they did some really good work. Dean Ibsen, who was with, Vertical Infrastructure, voluntarily took a position with the Energy Bank. He thought that that might be a best use of his talents. After he got in there, I think it's safe to say that neither side was happy with the arrangement, and so Ibsen was then let go. Ibsen received a settlement of $71,000. I can assure you, Senator McCoy, that that was funded out of state funds. The State of Iowa Facility Improvement Corporation was created by the legislature in the 80s. It had been long dormant, but since it was used as a revolving loan fund, it had proceeds, state proceeds, available, and it was under control of DAS. When DAS created the Energy Bank, they decided that that was an appropriate use of that CIPIC money to go along with the ARA money to run the program. And by run, I mean to issue the low-interest loans so they can do their energy efficiency projects. When Ibsen received his settlement, money from the CIPIC, which is the State of Iowa Facilities Improvement Corporation, was set aside to make that payment. Now, the decision was made by the authority to take back the control of the Energy Bank. And so we turned over all of the funds and documents and everything to EDA, because under the arrangement with the Department of Energy, they are the proper custodian of those documents and funds. There was a disagreement among accountants about a loan that DAS made to itself, and that was the General Services Enterprise, to do energy efficiency projects on the Capitol Complex campus. We felt at the time that that was a legitimate use of those funds because it was doing the same thing that the other loans were doing, which was to make the buildings more energy efficient and save the taxpayers money on heating and cooling costs, among other things. So the EDA asked, because we had this disagreement with them, they asked the Attorney General, to issue an opinion on whether or not it was appropriate for us to loan the money to General Services to do the energy efficiency work. The Attorney General's opinion was very vague. It said that we may have had a conflict of interest. We disagree with the Attorney General's opinion. However, prior to that opinion being released, that loan was repaid with state money, Pacific funds, which also paid DNIPS and settlement. The remedy that the AG had in its opinion was that in order to avoid any appearance of a conflict of interest, DAS should repay the loan with state funds. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I think there was some confusion at the time about whether or not Pacific funds were state funds, but I can unequivocally tell you that those are 100% state funds. That concludes my opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. So now we'll begin the discussion with our guests from the Department of Administrative Services. Who's first?
Is it for questions? Or
Yes, for questions. Chair recognizes Senator McCoy.
Thank you for being with us today, Mr. Anderson. I'm going to ask the same question to you that I asked to Mr. Woodley and Mr. Carlson yesterday. 2 hours after the firing of Mike Carroll, he responded to the Des Moines Register that he was telling the truth when he said there was no hush money paid to employees for their silence. My question to you is, did you brief Mr. Carroll for his testimony before this committee?
I did brief him, however, I had no knowledge of the settlements.
So you didn't have knowledge, Mr. Carlson didn't have knowledge, Mr. Woodley didn't have knowledge, and you three sat in the same briefings with the governor's staff prior to coming before this committee, and nobody knew about the hush money, and that's your testimony today.
Yes.
And you're going to hold to that testimony today, that none of the three of you knew anything about the hush money.
Senator, the question is, did I know that money was offered in exchange to add confidentiality agreements to the settlements? The answer is no, I did not know that.
Okay. And so my question to you is, did you attend the briefings with Mr. Carlson, Mr. Woodley, and Mr. Carroll with the governor's staff?
I did, and I would agree with them on who was in attendance in those meetings.
I'm sorry.
They've already answered the question on who was in attendance in those meetings, and I agree with their testimony.
Okay. So if we could, I'd like to just ask you, with respect to the sheet that you handed out, the cost savings sheet.
Yes, sir.
If we go to example 2, the general contractor markup cost avoidance, that sort of sounds like a Bernie Madoff scheme to me. I'm trying to understand what the projects were that went into this demonstration.
Absolutely, we can answer that. That would actually be a more appropriate question for Doug. But I will say, this is not a number that was just pulled out of the air. This is an RS means construction industry standard.
No, I'm sorry. I want to be clear, because this sheet was actually created yesterday. It's dated April 16th. So it's new.
Fair enough.
It just got put together. Prior to this, we were working with chicken scratches that Mr. Carlson had laid out for us. So what I don't understand is why you would bring a sheet in here to us as you're explaining what went into the cost savings and not have detailed lists of the projects.
Senator, we have 120 pages of documentation that backs us up, and I'd be happy to provide that to you. I thought for the purpose of this meeting, that would be a little unwieldy.
No, but I guess what I want to know is, without knowing where the project savings were, I mean, these numbers are hard to be believable. I mean, we don't even know what the projects were.
We absolutely do, Senator, and we can provide all that information to you.
So this sheet got created yesterday to explain how you're saving the money. I guess what I'm concerned about is, as I look at what our nonpartisan fiscal bureau provided us, Ron Robinson, and I believe everybody should have a copy of that. Since September 1st, 2011, when the department was laid off, we've contracted with Ryan Company for $1.2 million, Story Construction for $1 million, Samuels Group for $3.2 million, DCI for $1.8 million, White's for $329,000, J.D. Dunn for $569,000, Taylor for $1.9, GTG for $22,000, and Geary International for $1.5. And this is for construction managers that have done work on our projects. So these numbers here are unfiltered numbers.
Right, and they should tie out to the 7.4 million.
Pardon?
Those numbers accumulate, some should tie out to the 7.4 million.
Those numbers total 11,757,000.
I have not seen the LSA numbers.
Yeah, and I don't,
Well, my time is up and it's just getting fun.
The payments are 1111.
Senator Boyle, we will return to the fund.
Okay,
And switch on to
I'll wait patiently.
Chair, next call upon Senator Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Anderson,
Yes, sir.
I too am trying to understand the details here. I'm going to try to ask my question in such a way that you can answer them so that a layman such as me can understand exactly what we're talking about.
Fair enough.
And I'd just like to start with number 2, change order savings. What's a change order?
I think Mr. Woodley would be the appropriate one to ask.
Well, that'd be fine.
good morning, sir.
Good morning.
A change order would be, once a construction project is underway, it would be a change in that project as opposed to the original design of the project.
And is that fairly common in construction projects?
It can be common, sir. Ideally, you would have the fewest change orders possible because change orders ultimately cost money. They not only cost money in the actual change order or in the way that the work is done, but there typically are markups completed on those change orders for folks, especially in a general contractor environment, for that general contractor to manage that change order process. Industry standard is 15% for that.
All right, and so in your chart here, you are showing for several fiscal years the percent change orders. Now, does that mean, you tell me, what does the percent change orders, what does that mean?
It would be the percent of the total job that was spent utilizing change orders and fulfilling those requests.
Okay, so you had a certain amount that was bid, would that be correct?
Yes, sir.
And then you had these percentages in fiscal year 12, 2.2%, fiscal year 13, 5.81, and 4.58. That would be the percent of the total bid or not?
Change orders as percent of the total project, sir, I believe is how it's
The
calculated.
total cost of the project.
Yes, sir.
All right. And that compares in fiscal year 2011 to 10.06%, fiscal year 10, 8.98%.
Yes, sir, that's
And
correct.
so that's how you arrive at these savings then. These are big projects into the millions of dollars. So that's, just so I understand how you're arriving at those figures. Now, I want to get back to part 3 also. kind of follow up on Senator McCoy's question.